Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today in this Jenkins tutorial, we'll learn how to use conditional stages in a declarative pipeline. You will see how to run or skip specific pipeline stages based on parameters, branches, environment variables, and more. So let's start with the basic pipeline structure. Using agent any and an empty stages block. After that, I'm going to add a parameter block where I'm going to add one parameter, a Boolean parameter for run test. So this run test checkbox parameter will let us choose whether to run our test stage or not. So I'm going to set the value of this checkbox as default, and when we are going to build the pipeline, then we can set the values either true or false. And then based on that value, it will decide whether our run stage is going to run or not. Okay, so I have added one Boolean parameter for the run test. Now, let me add a stage called build. Basically, this stage is going to build your project. So I'm just going to add the steps under this stage, and then I'm going to print into the console that we are building this project. So this stage will always run and serve as a baseline for comparison. Now, I'm going to add a test stage, and inside the test stage, I'm going to add a condition, and based on that condition, it will be decided whether to run the stage or not. So to add a condition, we have to add a when block. And under the when block, we can provide different kind of condition. Right now, I'm going to add one expression, and under the expression, I'm going to provide whether my run test parameter has a true or false value. So based on the parameter value we have provided, it is going to return that value, and then expression block is going to evaluate whether the value was true or false. If the value is true, then it is going to run the steps. In case the value is false, then the stage will be skipped. So now we have added a test stage that runs only when the run test parameter is true. So now let's see how this works. So let's go ahead and run this pipeline in Jenkins. So I'm going to save the changes. And after that, I'm going to build the project. So here you can see we have this run test checkbox checked. So I'm going to keep the value as checked for now. I'm going to hit the build now. Once the build finishes, I'm going to open the console output. Now I'm moving inside the console output. You can see the build stage executed, and so did the test stage, because run test was true. Now let's rebuild with the checkbox unchecked to skip the test. So this time I'm going to uncheck the value for the run test and going to build it again. Now, if I move to the console again, then you can see this time only the build stage runs, the test stage is skipped. So this is how we have used build parameters to decide whether to execute a stage or not. All right, now let's look at another common way to control stages using environment variables. Environment variables let you configure parts of your pipeline without hard coding values into every stage. For example, you might want to deploy to staging or production environment based on the environment flag. In Jenkins, you define environment variables inside the pipeline block using the environment section. So I'm going to add one environment block here, and then I'm going to add a variable called deploy environment, and then I'll assign it the value as staging. This variable will be accessible in all stages of the pipeline because we have created it under the environmental block. Now let's add a stage that only runs when this environment variable matches a specific value. So I'm going to create a new stage, and I'm going to call this stage as deploy to staging. And inside this stage as well, I'm going to add a when block that is going to check our environment variable. It will only run if deploy environment is exactly equal to staging. So when we have the environment value is set as staging, then this stage deploy to staging is going to execute. Otherwise, if we have different value for the deploy environment, let's say production, then this stage is not going to execute. So now let's go ahead and run the pipeline again. Once the build completes, let's open the console output. Here you can see the build stage executed as expected, and the deploy to staging stage executed because deploy environment was set to staging. Now to test our logic, I'm going to change the deploy environment value to production. This means our deploy to staging stage should be skipped this time because the condition no longer matches. So I've changed the value to production. Now let me save the configuration. And let's rebuild the pipeline again. If I move into the console, then as expected, you can see the build stage executed, but this time the deploy to staging stage was skipped. So our environment-based condition is working perfectly. Now, there are different other conditions which we can use in our stages. So another condition which we can add is branch. So this stage will only run when the pipeline is triggered on the main branch. So if I change the branch to some other, then it is not going to execute. Right? If my branch where I'm executing my pipeline is different than the branch which I have defined in my condition, then this will skip the particular stage. Also, there are other conditions as well. For example, if you have multiple conditions in your stage, so we have branch here, and then we have environment, and let's say expression as well. Now, let's say if you have multiple conditions in your when block. So here, let's say your branch is main, and then your environment name, and then let's say the expression is also there. So if you have multiple conditions and you want all the conditions to be true to run the particular stage, in that case, you can use a block called allOf. So when you're going to define this block allOf, it means each condition should be matched or true to execute the particular stage. If any of the condition fail or returns false, then this stage is not going to work. Similarly, we have opposite of this allOf condition, that is any of. In case if you want any one condition to be true to execute the stage, then you can define all these conditions under the any of block, which says if any of the condition out of these three is equal to true, then this is going to execute the stage. irrespective of other conditions returns true or false. So let's say if you want this stage to be always false, in that case, you can define this condition under the not block. So whenever we are defining a not condition or a not block, it means the condition inside this not block should always be false. If it is true, then this is not going to run our stage. So we have covered how to use parameter to skip or run our stages and how to use the environment variables, specific branches, and then how to combine different condition with like allOf, not, or anyOf block. So conditional logic like this helps you write smart, efficient CI/CD pipelines. I hope you like this video. Please put your comment inside the comment box. And please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Thank you.